I think it would have looked better with the green kiwis in the middle, don't you think?
There'd be more contrast and stuff
Yeah.
like that. So the kiwis look a little bit thick there, but
Yeah, we're
I
gonna
know
talk.
they're going to taste great. So.
We're going to talk about Southern Ghost and A Trip to the Stars.
You've been reading that
Nicholas
one for a
Christopher.
while, right?
Well,
A Trip
no,
to the
I've
Stars?
read that one a while ago, and then I just haven't reviewed it because
Okay. It's been cold for a while.
it's been cold. So
I see. I've recognized it. I like the cover.
yeah, well, James is he wants to keep it and read it himself if he gets the chance.
It's the one with the challenging vocabulary.
Yeah. So I'll talk about it first. Just find my notes.
Here, I'll hold.
I enjoyed reading this book. The author has a strong vocabulary and writes well. I had a tough time following the story at times. It's always this way when more than one person is telling the story. It's a love story of sorts, told by the lovers. You get the sense that it is a true love story. And true love. A match made for the stars. The sex scenes are sexy. Nicholas Christopher writes the best sex scenes I've come across yet. He doesn't understand plant grafting. But this is sort of a fantasy story, so why not have fantasy fruit? So, anyway.
But the grafting has nothing to do with sex. It's just it seemed a little bit to segue from one to the other. A little bit.
No, there's a lot going on in the story. There's a lot of different characters, and it's kind of it seems like a pretty down-to-earth kind of sci-fi thing. So there's some kind of spiritualism in there, and anyway, it's worth reading.
I like the cover. It's an old zodiac. Did you know that? It's an old portrayal of the stars, not just the zodiac.
Yeah. So
You can see Hercules, for example. There, he's not part of the zodiac. Sorry.
Southern Ghost, on the other hand.
Oh,
This book
there's
is
a lot
terrible.
of comments. She almost used up a whole page. Small writing, especially for
I
Pauline.
thought that the author had dedicated this book to her agent because the author knew it would never have been published without her. The Honey Locust Stationery, and I think it's supposed to be Wisteria, that backs each chapter head is dreadful. I should show you this so you know what I'm talking about.
There we go.
That's in every single chapter.
Okay.
So that's what you have to read through. Oh, what am I doing? In order to start every chapter, and it's awful.
It's hard on the eyes.
And not only that, but
Holy smokes, there's a chapter every other page.
just at the beginning. But I mean, that's enough that the chapters are too short at the beginning, and you're having to read through this awful mess. I can't imagine other people besides me would have bothered. So, yeah. Nobody, I thought, would have even started chapter 1 upon seeing that. It's awful. Any decent publisher would convince the author not to do that. I doubt that even the author's family would have bothered to read this book. Then I noticed that the author had published a number of books before this one and was surprised that she wasn't a total amateur.
Was it a dozen books or so? How many do you
Oh no, 8? I can't remember.
There
I
we
don't
go.
care.
A lot of it's a
I'm not
shocking
gonna
number.
Look for her books.
No,
The
no.
mystery isn't even good. The most interesting part of the book is the act of sabotage on pages 160 and 161. I gotta show you this. This is pretty impressive. Whoever was the copy editor was very annoyed at having to read this book, and put in some, or maybe just left them in. I don't know. I think put them in though. Put in these mistakes. They're
You're talking
just
about
awful. And this was the worst
quotation
of
marks?
it. Was page 160 and 161. I mean, they're dreadful.
I don't know if I've seen that much in a
Yeah.
like a reputably published book.
Did the copy editor hate the author that much that they figured they'd toss in so many mistakes for fun? They should have lost their job for that. But somehow I doubt they did, because no one would have read this, so no one would have noticed the mistakes. Perhaps the editor was falling asleep while reading this, understandably, and just made some unintentional mistakes, but doesn't it seem deliberate? There's so many mistakes in a small section. Maybe this is a secret code. Maybe the excessive punctuation on pages 160 and 161 are the real mystery of this story. On page 197, how can a person look sardonic? I have come to realize that fiction writers seem to think they need to include the word sardonic in every novel. Perhaps they think it's a magical word that will bring them success,
Hey,
or permit them membership in the unofficial writers club.
Kid you not, Pauline, a couple of pages before she ran into the sardonic, she was complaining about certain words that always crop up in
fiction novels.
Fiction novels and not in real life. She starts reading. It might have been the next page. I think I'm exaggerating when I say 2 pages down, but I try to be careful. But it was like a couple of minutes down the road, and maybe you read a page a minute like I do. Maybe you're faster, I'm not sure. But there you go. She's saying, here's sardonic, right here. There you go. But that was one of the words she was complaining about. And there it was.
Shouldn't they at least make an effort to use it appropriately? Anyway, the real mystery was why the author wrote this book. Sadly, that mystery was left unsolved. And that's my review of that one. Not that
kind of an intriguing cover, I gotta say.
Yeah, but look at this. Mm-hmm. It's you have the house and the driveway here, right?
Yeah.
And there's no garage here. But if you look at, I gotta find it now for you because I wasn't going to talk about this. There we go. The picture of the house. They were trying to label out where everyone is.
It's totally different.
It's totally different. There's garage back there, and the gates are at the little loopy thing. And
they're not taking the author seriously. I mean, all they had to do was, they didn't even have to read it. Just ask the author to say, what does the house look like? And then she's drawn a plan of it. So.
She has. So when they were doing the cover art, they could have
consulted.
Looked at the plan, really. Just done that. And
the cat kind of works against type, though. I like it. You know, they didn't go with the black cat or anything like that.
Well, the cat is in the story.
And it's that color.
I wasn't paying attention.
Okay,
I didn't hear.
They might not have specified. Anyway, it's a nice orange.
There was this part where I think they were talking about the cat wanted a sardine, or no, it was an anchovy. It was an anchovy, and I was like, oh my gosh, don't feed the cat anchovies. It's got to be so bad for them. They're
There'd
so
be
salty.
way too much salt.
Yeah.
Cat, I think, had trouble.
So
maybe it was a big thumping cat like Garfield's was.
I would definitely recommend that other one, though.
Yeah, I've got it here under my wing.
Yeah, James is going to keep that one. And I'm going to toss Southern Ghost right into the little library.
Yeah, we don't toss books out.
No.
We're going to recycle.
I give other people a chance to
very
toss
responsible about recycling. So.
Yeah, well, there was one book that I ripped up to use as kindling, and James was very disturbed by that, so I haven't done it since. But,
that would have been when we were having not a duck dinner, but a garden barbecue.
Yeah.
Yep.
But we haven't done that in a long time because the tree fell on the
barbecue
thing, and plus,
how many chairs is it sitting on? It's sitting on at least 2 chairs, and it's right on the barbecue unit.
Yeah, so we haven't done that. And I mean, I thought about sawing up the tree, and then my sister said, well, why don't you just put an ad in, a free firewood, come chop it up yourself or whatever. And I don't know. Then I thought, actually this is a pretty good thing that the tree's laying there, because it keeps people from wandering into the yard and sitting, because we were having problems with that anyway.
During
COVID, I may as well leave it there until after COVID.
Yeah, there were people sitting there.
So
they were lucky they weren't sitting there when it's a big spruce tree. It's you won't see too many bigger. I'm not saying it's the biggest I've ever seen, but
well, anyway, you talk about your stuff now.
All right, so
because I'm all done.
Bunch of previews, no reviews. Here's some.
I'll put these in.
So I've dragged out been rearranging my library and dragged out some stuff that I never got around to doing. So, Roy Kreuzword puzzle book, I'm mispronouncing it, but with 288 pages, a puzzle pleasure for young and old. And it's a field bouquet reading, something like that. So there you go. So it's a big crossword puzzle book, and it's Dutch. So I got hold of this one a long time ago, and let's just see how much I was able to actually do in it. Oh, on the first page, I managed to do one word. So I got antenna. It's spelled differently in Dutch than it is in English. But so I'm going to launch into it now. It's a big honker of a. Oh, I did some at the back. Why did I start at the back? I guess I thought it was. I don't know why I did. Well, here's one I actually kind of like finished up. Of course, anything that I've put an X by, I got wrong. So I didn't count out how many I got wrong, but it looks as though there's at least 10 wrong out of maybe 67. So not a very good batting average. So it looks as though I just kind of touched down in your. So it's not as bad. This one I got maybe a quarter of the things filled in. And already I was getting, oh my heavens, how many wrong? Lots wrong. So yeah, not that good. But you got to make a start somewhere. That's what I say about stuff. Like lots of people go around thinking they're exceptional, and they figure they can do exceptional things. When I approach something, I don't think of myself as being exceptional, but I try to do exceptional things. So I've managed to do that with German crosswords. Not that it would be exceptional to do these crossword puzzles if your native language is German, but my native language is English, and so I'm kind of proud when I do these sorts of things. So this is one that I don't know if I've done much, if any. It comes from Kelter Publishers. Yeah, I got 100% in the first one. Sold a while back, and I'm still working on the second one. So then I did a double crossword puzzle. So they'll give you, it's the same puzzle, but they don't tell you which one. You got two different clues for each, like one across. And so both puzzles are the same, and you got to figure out which puzzle the two clues go with. It's as though I haven't quite finished counting it up or stuff like that, but it looks as though I did most of what are called the Schwedenritzels. I'll just be going through I'm better at them now than I was, let's say, 20 years ago. I think I got these about 2000. Only Deutschmarks 150. Only have Deutschmark. That's before the euro. I don't know when the euro came. That's how long I've had that. This one I love. Das Golden. I had the golden riddle. A riddle book, and I guess it's a gold format around the head. Oh, they say not just all sorts of types of riddles. I guess all the Rätselart might mean that. I'm not sure what that means, but it basically says all Rätselart. They don't have all of them, including 20 Schwedenrätsel. So 20 Swedish riddles, Swedish puzzles. And I'm not the only one. The person they actually sold this to me, I bought it sight unseen, but someone had actually used it. You see what I'm saying? I paid pretty good money for it.
Yeah, you would have bought it at the what is that called?
It was a
Mountain
delicatessen.
sausage?
It doesn't exist anymore, so I guess we can use it. Mountain sausage. So Yeah,
Maybe somebody working there had a really slow shift one day.
well, it was more than one day because they did almost all the Schwedenritzels. So they're
Oh
claiming
my gosh.
on the front that there's 20 Schwedenritzels. You see, they're the ones that I do, right? That's what I go for. But now it's good because I'm going through. I did a while back correct, and now because I'm better at them, I'm correcting them even more. So the first one that they did, I just finished correcting it this morning. There are 41 clues. They got 15 wrong, so they got 26 out of 41. I got one wrong.
Well, they did it in pen.
I did it in pen. Now, when I corrected it, I was doing it in pen too. Now I do it in pencil. So I put black pen and they did blue pen. But yeah, so I only got one wrong. I got 40 out of 41. They got 26 out of 41. This one I loved. And I was just doing it when Pauline said, "Come on." So I wasn't going to keep her waiting. It's reasonably cool out here, even though it's. So they didn't do the best Bastelgeta or self-made Retzel, where you get the not the clues but the answers, and you just gotta put them into a blank crossword puzzle. Bit of a challenge. Wer ist der? Who is this dude? Shooting at a big apple on the kid's head. William Tell. So yeah, there's some things they did actually figure out who smokes here his pipe. So they put an X there, right? Kind of hidden in the picture. But yeah, this one I love. This is the one that I was working on. Just so it looks as though I'm going to have all of them right. But I had to do a little bit of corrections. So Hormone. The Bauchspeicheldrüse, the Bauch is stomach. Speicheldrüse is like a glitching on the word gland. Yeah? So it's a hormone of the pancreas gland, right? So somehow or another they thought that was anakulic. They really screwed it up. What they're looking for, they got the N right and the L right, and it's insulin, right?
Oh wow.
So they screwed. I don't know how they got the L there, because they didn't get the crosser Landeshauptstadt of the German West Germany. I think it's Bundesrepublik Deutschland or something like that. BRD is all they've got here. They got to fit it into the crossword puzzle. That's Kiel, way up in the north there. If you're watching from Kiel, hey, is that where? It's close to where Thomas Mann came from. I don't think he came quite. It's right up there. I think it's a pretty civilized cultured place. So hello there, right up near Denmark. But yeah, they've made most of the stuff is like Kreiskugelausschnitt. So that's a circle or a cone, a cutout from a circle or a cone. Ausschnitt is cutting out, and they think it's decor, but decor is like decoration or stuff like that, ornamentation, and it's in German, but they spell it with two K's, decor. It turns out I guess they don't know much mathematics. It's a sector, right? They got the OR and they got the E in there. Okay, that's wonderful. They weren't able to figure out a Stadtbewohner. I don't know how they got the or. Well, they just put in decor, but that's a burger. So a Stadtbewohner is someone who lives in a Stadt or a city, a town, and burger is more like a citizen or a civilian or something like that. I guess it's the same sort of thing, but it means so slightly different. Körperertüchtigung, which is kind of like training or activity, body activity. They weren't able to figure out sport in German. It's wonderful. You know, like it makes. I'm glad they did it now, because now it's getting to the point where I can do like all the puzzles. It doesn't matter in the big. I'll be reviewing pretty quickly. I previewed it when I did the cryptic crossword puzzle. Like when I was doing it 20 years ago, maybe 30 years ago, I could only do maybe get 25% of the pages, 100%. But now it's getting up to I've turned it around. It's 25%. I don't get 100%. It's maybe like 70%. I get 100%. So it doesn't matter if it's cryptic crosswords or whatever. The worst ones, I think, are the syllable crosswords, where you're crossing syllables, not letters, stuff like that. So those I get, 70% right or something like that. So it goes. I mean, they're very hard to do, and that's the way it goes. So there's another double crossword puzzle. These are previews and stuff I'm going to work on. And here's one that I've started already. And I'm doing this because it is the opening day of the Winter Olympics in
China.
the People's Republic of China. Or as it should be better known, the elites, res intelligentsia of China. In other words, the intelligentsia's thing. That's what res intelligentsia. It's not res publica.
And they're wearing masks in that.
Are they?
Yeah, they were in the picture.
Yeah, so China syndrome, the true story of the 21st century's first great epidemic, unfortunately not the last. Because this one would have been published maybe in 2005, you just see 2006, and it's about the SARS epidemic of 2003, which hit Canada, worse I think, in the world. No, it started off in China. And people have been going ever since. We don't name various epidemics and stuff like that after the country of origin, because that will discourage countries from reporting an outbreak. Did that work with China this time? Of course not. Of course not. They were doing the same stuff. In many ways, they might have been worse this time out. So who are you, That didn't work, you stupid. I'm not going to say it. But you can imagine what I'm thinking. That didn't work out, you flunkies. So I'll be reading this, in memory of the well over 5 years. Last time I was able to check the internet, which was maybe a year and a half ago, or something like that. There were 5 million dead. It was well over 5 million dead. I'm going to be reading in memory of them. And so the People's Republic of China should be on the hook for reparations to the whole world. 20 million people for every unjustifiable, you can't exactly call it homicide. I'm not sure if the Chinese developed this. I'm not saying engineer developed and released it on the world. But at the very least, they were irresponsible and negligent. So it's manslaughter, serial manslaughter. And so that's for every person dead. It should be 20 million. That's what was given to 6 of the relatives of people who were taken down in that Ukrainian flight from, I believe it was Tehran, about 2 years ago. 20 million. That's for everyone around the world. So 20 million times 5 million deaths. What does that come out to? Trillion. $100 trillion is what China owes, and that's just for the wrongful deaths. They owe every country around the world reparations for economic fallout. Also, they should be setting up a fund to handle long-term COVID cases. We don't know what sorts of problems people are going to have. There are documented cases of long-term complications and stuff like that.
And
but
when James says this, we don't have anybody in our family that has died from COVID yet. So
not yet.
it's not.
Could be any old time.
It could be.
If I die from COVID in the next little while, I've got cancer, I'm taking treatment, I've got all sorts of comorbidities. I could die. If I die, it's not with COVID. It's from COVID. You see? Check it out.
I try to keep.
Like I wasn't wheeled out here in a wheelchair, or this wasn't taken at bedside, and I'm dying and stuff like that. I'm still pretty vigorous. And if I die of COVID, it'll be of COVID, from COVID, not with COVID. You stupid lying idiots that are going around saying, Colin Powell died with COVID. Stuff like that. You guys are stupid idiots at best. And I'll be going through this if I survive long enough. But my dad is 100 years old. Not 100. He's working on 100. Just turned 99 as of the last month, 31st of January. And we'll see if he makes it to 100. Scott Moe, he's in Saskatchewan. Scott Moe is, and so is my dad. We'll see if my dad survives Scott Moe opening things up, getting rid of various regulations and other safety features and stuff like that. Hey, Scott Moe, you killed my dad. I'm not saying I'm coming after you, because I'm not that kind. I don't believe in violence. But I should be able to come after you legally. In other words, take you to court, you stupid scumbag.
Yep.
No Mo. But they're all Jason Kenney here in Alberta's talking about. He's actually talking about it. He will do it. Not allowing municipalities to come up with their own regulations about masking or whatever.
Wow.
And he's talking about opening things up. He actually came out with a support for the flunkies down in in Coots. I think Coots people are plenty fine and all that sort of stuff. But the truckers that went down there, and they're still down there. Apparently, some of them, they were blockading they were triumphing. They're saying we blockaded the police blockade. Wow. That's what they should be doing. They should bring out the army. Hey, Justin Trudeau, bring out the army and surround those idiots and don't let them out. They think they've got Ottawa under siege. You get them under siege. They're not coming out. They shouldn't be allowed out. Yeah. They were saying that we've negotiated with various authorities and we're allowed without masks to go into stores. It happened.
Well,
they were allowed to go into stores en masse.
Because they're trying to fight democracy.
Exactly right.
They want their own freedoms and nobody else's freedoms. So.
Freedom from them.
Yeah.
Bring out the army.
Well, you got 30 seconds to wrap it up.
Bring out the army and put them under siege. No food, no gas, particularly. They're in the cold. They're running their engines.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.